Welcome to the C-Level Agenda, the podcast where we talk about management and leadership issues. And of course, our favorite thing to do is to have conversations with successful entrepreneurs. After the last episode, I was asked by several people, what is the criteria we're using to bring people on this podcast? And I thought about it and I discussed it with my team. And it was really very simple, that we want to identify and bring to the public through this platform people who have started and built businesses, entrepreneurs who have created jobs, they pay tax, they have created economic activity around them through their own skills and their ideas. Sure, they could be financed by family, friends. Business starts with financing from people close to you. But what you do with that money is the real question. So with that criteria, and without further ado, today we have with us the sisters team behind one of the most successful interior design and architecture firm in Pakistan, Irtiqa Hassan Interiors. Irtiqa.
Thank you so much.
And Barira, welcome.
Thank you.
So I am looking forward to having this conversation because it's not usual, for young women to start something that you did like this, and then to become so successful at it. So it's the journey that we are interested in, and really people should know more about it and understand what you've gone through. So with that introduction, I would like to understand, tell us about your journey. How did it all start?
I think so. Initially, when I joined Indus Valley, I think I'll just kind of really take you guys back. And I remember I was in an interview for my test, like it was the student application. And there were these like three jurors, three interviewers, jo interview kar rahe the. They were sitting right there. And I was kind of opposite them. And the room was really dark and very like intimidating, right? They're like, okay, fine, you know what, why do you want to be an interior designer? And I said, it's my dream. And then they said, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? And I quote, I said, I see myself as the top most interior architect of Pakistan.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I think,
This is when you were how old, by the way?
I think 2000?
Yeah, so 21?
21, yeah, 21.
No, it's probably 19.
Yeah, 19, yeah, she remembers.
Okay.
19.
So, yeah, I think because...
So it is 19-year-old saying this, right?
And when I said that, the guy, the old man, he's like confused. He said, okay, did she just say that? And then the other two and they're like just smiling at each other, like, really? Okay, you know what, you're in. And I think it was just that vision that I had since the beginning. I mean, I was just a student. I didn't even know if I'll get into Indus, but I think it was just that that vision that kind of,
And then you graduated and...
I graduated and then I got married. I think 2014.
Before you started this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
2014 I graduated. 2014 December I graduated. 2015 January I got married. So basically it was like a 1 month.
Right.
And then obviously, married life and, with Pakistan and...
And you were not working
I was not working at that point. Then I was doing events with, this friend of mine because I didn't want to sit idle. I just couldn't, I felt like my creative juices or whatever you would call it I just felt like, I'm feeling claustrophobic because I couldn't design. Then I think eventually I joined a design firm. I was working and there I got a lot of recognition. They gave me a lot of control in my projects because that wasn't the case there. They would be very controlling. But then I said that, see, if I want to design, I need that freedom because I feel like I'm being limited a lot by the seniors here. And when they saw, what I can do, they gave me that freedom. And then I think, slowly and gradually, I, had Muhammad. I was pregnant, and then I couldn't, I couldn't do a job like a 9 to 5 was obviously not possible because obviously, a new mother and everything. And then I quit my job. And
so
then
that was 1 year, 2 years?
That was 1 year. I think I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And then paid.
Yeah.
Then I remember...
You went to like a couple of places, Oman or something as well with the company. So already you were, venturing into other
That was for what?
That was for
training?
residents.
Okay.
Interiors, residential interiors.
So some kind of a development and training.
Yeah, it was like a project we went to. And then we also went to IPEX in Dubai, the Big Five in Dubai for like design training. Then I remember, I was like, oh my God, I'm idle, I have nothing to do and I need to do something. Interiors is like, my passion, right? So I remember I was in Makkah. It's like a story that I tell everyone. And I was kind of sitting with Muhammad. He was like, in the swing. And I'm like, okay, I have him. I'm a mother.
He's what, 1 year old? Then?
6 months.
6 months.
6 months. And I remember my teachers always saying that कि इसकी तो शादी हो जाएगी, इसकी तो मंगनी हो गई, ये जिंदगी में कुछ भी नहीं करेगी. And I remember my teachers constantly saying that to me. And that was so like, for me, I think that was more like a drive for me. That, you said this to me, I'm going to show you I can do it all, right? Because I think, the first one to get married in all the students. So then I was like, you know what, I have a child, I'm married, but I have a passion and I can't let go of it, right? So what do? I can't do a 9 to 5, so what do? So I started, I designed my logo there. And I just made
IHI.
I designed that logo. And I said, I'm just going to blog about interiors. I'm just going to start talking about design languages and just talk about it. If I can't do anything, I just want to talk about it. And I remember I just made that page. It was, there. I designed the logo. I did it on Photoshop. And then I just posted it. And then I'm just like kind of posting pictures and posting design languages around the world and just talking about it, right? And from somewhere, it just started getting a lot of attention, like followers and likes.
This was what, 7 years ago?
More than that. Muhammad, 8 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? I'm like, okay, people are liking it. People are liking this conversation about design and about architecture.
You weren't doing any work till then?
No, nothing.
Okay.
Just
posts on social media.
Just posts on social media. Just posts on Instagram where I'm just kind of talking design, all things design, like design elements and material palettes and just, what I think of these spaces. And then it just started getting a lot of attention. And I remember... And the point was not that to get projects. The point was just to talk about design, right? And then a couple of people contacted on DM and they said, you know what, we think that you have a great eye and why don't you kind of come on board for this project? It was really small projects. But I was like, okay, you know what? Then, 1 project, then 3, then 4. Then, I... got Anand on board. He's been with me since I started IHI.
He's your first employee?
My first employee. And
what does he do, sorry?
Now he's the head of design department.
Okay.
Pehle it was just me and Anand, and then there was Zohaib.
Okay.
So we were 3 people.
So he's also grown with the organization?
Oh yes.
Okay.
So I remember it was me, Anand and Zohaib.
He was a 3D artist.
3D artist.
That's
a 3D
what
artist, that's it.
Yeah.
And Zohaib was a site supervisor. And when we started, it was just 3 of us. And we would go to sites, we would do measurements together, we would do accounts together, we would do 3Ds together, we would do 2Ds together, everything. It was just us 3 and like doing everything A to Z together. Jo, I think now 30 people ka jo,
yeah. It's a 30 people office now.
Yeah.
And the 3 people
we're doing
this.
this.
This is in 6 years, 7 years?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So then I think it was freelance at that point. And then I would take meetings at Lal's, client meetings.
I should tell Lal's.
It was at the Lal's restaurant, I remember, because I was really close to my house. And I would just kind of be like, okay, Mohammed is sleeping. And
that's not a criteria, by the way.
I have like a 1 hour slot. He's sleeping. I should go and, take the meeting. And I think... and then I feel like it was too much of Lal's then. I was like, you know what? And then I spoke to my husband. I was like, Hassan, you know what? I think we have a lot of clients. I think this can be something, but I'm not sure. So he said, you know what? Why don't you kind of take a room in my office and just maybe have your meetings there instead of going to Lal's all the time. I said, okay, you know what? I'll just do that. And then I remember I had that one office and slowly we took over the workstations. Right, because we had to increase. And then I remember the conference room, I think in about 3 months' time, was like filled with our catalogs and wallpapers.
So you're sort of taking over.
Yeah, and then my father-in-law comes to my husband like, hey, where's my office? You know what? it's about time you get your wife her own office. So yeah, and I think that's how.
How interesting.
Okay. So then we saw we got our first office in Bukhari. Again,
and who was your first client, by the way, if I may ask?
My first client was.
Because it would have been somebody who would be
a family friend.
Sort of.
Was it?
It wasn't a family friend.
No.
Was it a family friend?
No. It was a reference, like a friend's friend.
Okay.
He wanted to do his office.
All right.
So that was an office. I think it was like a printing company.
Okay.
A printing company.
I think I remember now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did that for him, and he was all about giving new people opportunities and all of that.
Yeah, it would take somebody who would be a bit more enterprising, right? You need people like that.
Yeah, so
Arif,
Arif, he's still following me, and he's
great.
So thank you, Arif. So he was the first client, I remember, and he loved our ideas, and he said, you know what, I know it's just you, but I think you can do a very good job.
Just coming back to what you said about ideas and double clicking on that, what's the IHI sort of mantra? What's the philosophy? How have you sort of shaped that? And is that like something that's now very clear?
Yeah, I would say that since the beginning, I remember there were a lot of people who approached us for a collaboration, we have clients and just come and collaborate with us and you can design and we'll just give you all the clients in the world. And
so you're like the back office, right?
Yeah. That's what they wanted us to do, and at that point, financially, it was a great direction to take because, like I mentioned, obviously it was just a blog, just like 2-3 clients, and that's it, right? And we were kind of self-funding. The salaries were obviously coming from the projects that we were doing,
right.
So it was just literally self-funding the whole thing, right?
Running hand to mouth. Basically.
Yeah, hand to mouth. It was literally like that, and I said, okay. And then I remember 3-4 people approached that way. Proper companies came and met and said, you know what, your blog is getting attention. And
so these were design firms?
Design firms, design
firms.
Competitors.
Okay.
At that point, I don't
even think... They would not see you as
They would not see me as like a competition at that point because I was too small, right? Just like nothing, honestly. And they had like huge displays.
They obviously saw the talent and the creative.
They had like huge display centers for their furniture and everything. And they said, you know what, we have the resources, we have the team, we just need your creativity. And financially, that would have been a great direction, but I didn't want to take it because I felt like since day one, I knew the vision I wanted for the brand I create, right? And it had to be one of a kind. It had to be a high-end sort of design firm that delivers magical design spaces, and not just in terms of aesthetics, but also quality-wise, right? And finished-wise, quality-wise, the whole thing has to come together. It all has to tell a story, right? And I felt like if I collaborate with XYZ design firms, what if my vision gets lost, right? What if I'm not able to justify the reason why I started design? And then I just said no.
So that's quite interesting. You gave up money.
Yes.
Financially, you were basically, obviously you were stretched.
I was. I remember
You get this money offer and you were so clear about your vision that you actually said no to that money.
And everyone pushed
me for it.
Everyone she would take financial advice from, right?
Yeah.
Dad, I remember Hassan Bhai. So I remember they were also like pushing her.
And they're like businessmen, like successful businessmen, and and they said, Yeah,
but I mean, this is the entrepreneur thing, right? I mean, you follow that vision.
Yeah, and I didn't know at that point. I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, I have Hassan, he's successful, and he's telling me, are you mad? Take this up. And then my dad is like, Beta, no. Like, you have clients, you have money. Go ahead. I'm like, no. Like, what if I get lost in this? Like, maybe it could be a wrong decision. I could just be, maybe this could be the end of, because it was really hand to mouth at that point. But I said, no, I mean, my vision is more important. And I know the philosophy I had and the passion I have for design. And it's not just about money. It's always been about passion, to design beautiful things and to create beautiful things. So I think,
but to have that clarity,
yeah, she was very
clarity is the
that.
ultimate edge that you gave yourself.
I'm shocked at myself as well now when I think about it. But I think, because like I said, it was never about money. Even when we have clients come in and, they say XYZ and I tell them, you know what, it's not about money. I've never ever worked for money. And if you do good work, automatically you're true to your...
Money is important, but it's not why you exist.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It can't be what drives you.
It can't be what drives you, right? And I feel like if you're doing good work and if you're true to your profession, paisa to aa jata hai na, like if you're true to it, right? But you can't lose your vision in that's
because if you lose that, then you're just like a commodity. Right?
Exactly.
And that's where you need to ward off that.
Exactly.
Be careful not to go into that.
And a very important distinction is that, I don't want to, offend any... So I had this term, I don't know if you say it or not. I would say, mujhe furniture auntie nahi banna.
Furniture auntie. Okay.
And very easily you can be a furniture auntie. Like I could have been a furniture auntie right now, right? And that was also why I took this decision.
May offend some people.
Yeah, may offend some people. Maybe you can crop that out if you want.
You want to define that?
So basically, just placing furniture. Oh, bedroom, bed, 2 side tables. Oh, dressing table. Okay, let's add a chair.
Okay.
Furniture auntie. Okay.
As an interior designer, that's what some people do.
That's what some people do. They're more like interior...
Mostly people without degrees, right? No?
They're more like interior decorators, basically.
Yeah, decorators.
So there's a
But they
distinction.
become names, well-known names, right?
Yeah.
So there's an interior architect, okay, which... These are 3 very important distinctions that a lot of people don't know about. Interior architect is someone who deals with the structure planning as well, the spatial circulation, the human ergonomics, your relationship with the space, right? And then come the softer interiors, right? Like furnishings and then hard interiors, and then comes the color palette and like the fabric and everything. Interior designer is someone who deals with, furniture placement and, I'd say like curtains and everything. Interior decorator is solely someone who's just kind of like looking at the softer interiors, right? You don't need a degree for that. So it's very, very easy to kind of become lost in these 3 if you don't take the right direction, right? There are firms who are just, who started way before us, but who are just selling furniture. Just selling furniture, like a piece of wallpaper, 2 mirrors, bridal room done, right? And it's very easy to just be that. And they're big names. But that's not something, as a qualified interior architect, I wanted to do, because commercial projects, we're very big on commercial projects. And
it's not like those companies don't do well, because there is a market for that. So it's not like those companies which are like mostly furniture houses. It's a furniture house, basically. It's not like they don't do well. So financially, it's not like a bad market to be in, but it just, I don't know how much you can innovate and how much you can like have control of the space in that particular...
So that brings me to actually ask you more about the market itself, because it's from my understanding, and obviously it's limited, it's a very difficult market.
Yeah,
it's mostly the unorganized sector.
It is.
Right? So how
it's
does...
a labor class, yes.
So how do you, first of all, share something about the market, how it's structured, and then how do you deal with that unorganized labor, what's the sort of management that you have to exercise?
I would say broadly speaking, we can think about the market as architecture and interiors. And within architecture and interiors, we can think about residential and commercial, right? Because those are very different, I would say, customer segments and products as well, services that we provide. So in architecture, you'd be doing the planning, you'd be doing the construction of the grey structure as well, putting up the grey structure. And then comes the interiors, where you're doing like whatever she said in terms of, the hard interiors, the furniture, and even the decorations, all of that comes together. And of course, whether you're doing it for the residential client or the commercial client is basically how we do it.
And IHI does everything.
We do all.
We do everything.
Okay.
Yeah, we do it. And that's not something how it started. It started out as just residential interiors. And slowly we got into commercial interiors. I think commercial interiors and residential was both together. But the portfolio previously was mostly towards residential interiors. And I would say today it's about 75% residential and 25% commercial interiors. Architecture is still a small segment, but it's something the company ventured into, I think, about 3 years ago, and it's gained a lot of traction since.
Okay.
So a lot of architecture clients are now coming in, commercial and residential both. So that's basically the division, but the main subset for us right now as well is residential interiors.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Interiors.
Residential interiors.
And residential interiors is your, if I was to say, core business?
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
But you do many other things, and you could develop other areas.
Absolutely. And furniture, like when we make our furniture in-house. So
you have your own factory?
We have our own factory.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
So you run the factory also?
Yes, we have our own factory.
Okay.
So that's how we control the quality. I think this was a decision Irtiqa made. How many years ago was it? 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is before I joined the company. I only joined this year. 5 years ago, I think the decision she had to make was, with the limited capital she had, whether to invest in a factory or a display, like a showroom. And I think the decision was, you can talk more about that.
At that time, you decided the factory is more important.
Yes.
Why?
Which is not the norm, by the way.
Norm. Yeah.
Because look, generally retail or,
Because obviously the money-making decision is that you go for the display, because obviously people come, they see, and jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai. That's what it is, right? And they see, okay, there's a retail and furniture is like displayed well, and but I felt like if I do invest in a display and not a factory first, how do I know the quality that I'm making is actually up to mark or no, right? So I wanted to develop the BTS, like behind the scenes first, and kind of really excel at it, and then know that, okay, what I'm making is something that is really up to mark. Top of the line, yeah, and not
so what you're designing, you're able to execute perfectly.
Exactly.
That's the whole, you control the whole thing.
Yeah. So it's not just on your screens and looking pretty, it's literally there. You can, it's more tangible, you can touch it, you can feel it, right? So bring the intangible to life, right? And justify it well. So I think it was very important for me to kind of have the backbone stronger, and then.
But Irtiqa, what about management then? So you were stretching yourself to managing a factory.
Yes.
How many people do you have there?
40 people now.
Yeah.
40.
Yeah.
So, and I'm assuming that's unorganized labor.
Yeah. It's 35 labor, 5 management in the factory.
So then.
It's so
managing it.
Yes.
How do you manage it? Is it something that you do?
No, it's a wonder to me as well how she managed it all.
Yeah, I think sometimes.
Are you deeply involved in it, or you have people helping you?
No, we do have people, obviously. We have separate departments, and they're like kind of, the departments are divided. We have like a head of factory, head of site, head of design. But obviously they're all kind of, I'm supervising all of them.
Yeah.
And initially there were a lot of factory visits to make sure that everything is up to mark, and all the machinery, all the equipment, all the raw material is something that, would be something that kind of sits with me. And my one instruction to the factory team was that never ever compromise on quality. Even if I say that, okay, you know what, we're in a loss, I do not want you to compromise on the quality of the product, because that is where you will kind of lose your client. Not now, but in the next 5 years, you will lose that client, right? So just
absolutely.
Yeah. So just keep
you can have them once.
Yeah.
That's
they won't
it.
come back.
They won't come back.
You won't get references from them.
Yeah.
And you have to think long term.
It was always long term. It was always long term, I think.
It's fascinating. You were thinking all of this with so much clarity. Starting off, you had this vision, then you go and take these sort of non-commercial decisions, and then you go into a factory, whereas other people would have gone into a retail outlet, right?
I don't know, it's actually a joke in the family as well, that we always thought of her as a creative, she's a creative one, not good with accounts, not good with numbers.
Literally, it's been a joke.
When it comes to business management, we're like, then she just, built something like this, and we're just
clearly a visionary.
We're just in awe in terms of
who believes in. It's serious. I mean, it is. That's about what it is about, right? Your business is about what you believe in. And you are able to execute it.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect example.
I think it was more of for me, it's like more about the passion for design, right? Like even right now, when I'm tired or when I'm just having a bad day, I just kind of open my iPad and just kind of sketch, because that gives me peace. Like for me, that's like therapeutic, right? So it's more of that. And if you love what you do, I think, and that's all you need to do. Just be really, really passionate about the field you're in, and really kind of be true to it. And that's what design is for me to date. And I think
it's trickled down to the rest of the organization. I feel I think the rest of the organization also understands that it's important it's important to just constantly innovate. It's important to like not just give what we've done in the past for other clients, not do the same for new clients. So I think that vision
has definitely been trained
always doing better than before, innovating and just not compromising on quality is something that we see in all of our departments, whether it's design, whether it's site, whether it's factory.
Fantastic.
So I think that's a culture that's now the DNA of the company.
Yeah, well said.
And speaking of culture, just a slight digression, but I'm very curious about how people who are in the family in particular, right? You've mentioned your husband, but a bit more on the men in the family supported you, people around you were very supportive. You wouldn't have been able to do this.
No, for sure.
So what was that?
So I'd say since day one, firstly, it was obviously my dad, because even when I was giving my thesis and all of that, we had some, there was like a bad patch personally I was going through. And then I feel like he really, really pushed me. I remember a day before my mid-jury, I said, you know what, I can't do this. I just can't do it, I'm quitting. And then I remember my dad being on the phone with me every half an hour. He'd just call me and he'd say, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? He made sure that, okay, is the model done? Okay, is the cutting done? Okay, fine. Did you go to the stationery shop?
He was pushing you.
Every half an hour, that man called me. He did not sleep all night. Every half an hour.
Classic dad.
He did not sleep all night because I told him, I'm quitting, I'm coming home, I can't do this. There's too much on my plate. He said, no, you worked 3.5 years, I will not let you quit. Every half an hour, he called me and he asked me, tell me a list of things you have to do, because it was in the morning, 8 a.m. And I was, I think, the first presentation. I said, there's absolutely no way, because the first one gets grilled the most, right?
The jury comes with their coffee.
Yeah, they're like, bite to just like, you know what, we're going to get them. And then, so I think till 7 a.m. dot, he just kept calling and he said, you know what, just do it. He said, beta, more than what you have behind you, use your skills to present. You are good at talking. Okay, you're good at selling, just talk. Okay? I go, okay, but I don't have the data to back me. He said, I don't care, you just talk. Because ये कुछ नहीं होगा ना, क्या होगा ज़्यादा आपको फेल कर देंगे, नहीं मिलेगा, तो जो बोलना है बोल दो बस, सब बोल दो आज. Okay, ठीक है, I'll try that. And I think I ended up being second, that day. And then I just came home and I was like, you know what, And I think that moment is where it all changed, because if I had quit at that point, I would never have gone back doing this, right? So I think number one...
So extremely supportive father.
Oh, yes.
And then your husband and your in-laws and everybody.
So my husband, so when this the projects start coming my way and I was just a new mother, he could have said, you know what, focus on the baby and then, we can always open a studio, because financially he never... He said that I will invest whenever you want me to. He said that, but I said that, you know what, I don't want to really, it's too much of a pressure to take...
take the money.
Yeah, take the money. What if it doesn't go well? And I don't want to do that, right? So he just said, okay, you know what, you have my cabin, you have this, you have the support, it's fine. And so that support of his, that, okay, use my space and be comfortable, and kind of the time that I was obviously not giving to him and the baby at that point, I was giving to my work. And even after that, I feel like the growth, and he was always really supportive of the next step. And he kept saying that, you know what, okay, what do you think? Okay, factory, okay, new store, okay, second store. And I think with in-laws as well, in the beginning, it was a bit difficult because obviously it was very new and I was like the first bahu. So there are these norms, especially in Maiman families, right? But eventually, I feel like when they saw that, okay, she really is talented. I remember a lot of friends going up to them and saying, oh, your daughter-in-law is Irtiqa Hassan. They're like, okay, you know what? Yeah, okay, she's doing well. Yeah, okay.
That's the moment of pride, yeah?
Yeah. And today they're like, you know what? It's been 7 years now, and they're like, we went to this dinner, and they were staying over Irtiqa
They're so
Hassan's.
proud, like you can see.
Yeah, like they're Irtiqa Hassan's in-laws, and tumne naam roshan kiya, and these things, and it's very
This is so
important.
important in our society, right? I mean, without their support,
You can't do it.
Without the whole,
You can't do it.
system working for you.
Yeah,
it's so difficult.
Because see, I feel like if your personal life is kind of, it's not settled, then obviously it shows in your work, right? And then if there's like pressure from the back that time pe nahi aa rahi, ye nahi kar rahi, ya idhar dekhiye, bachche ko nahi dekh rahi, all of that, I feel like I'd just be so mentally disturbed that I won't be able to perform.
I mean,
so it's very important.
even if you're working for as an employee somewhere, it bothers you. But as an entrepreneur, where everything depends on you.
Depends on you, yeah. Because we're never like, I think that's the difference. You felt that you're never.
Yeah.
You're always working.
You're always working, always on.
Yeah.
But
you're from McKinsey, so always.
Yeah, but I was still always on. My previous job as well. But I'll tell you, I think what really stands out when I think about the family in this in terms of, so the society is all about, women helping other women. It's about women empowerment, and mostly we think we need to rely on other women to get that support. But I feel like the support that the man of the family can give you, that adds a lot more than what the woman of the family can do. And I don't know why that is. It's societal, it's cultural, it shouldn't be the case. But I think just hearing it from your father and your husband and your in-laws, that
makes such a difference.
It makes a difference because your mother will support you, your sister will support you. But like getting that additional support from the man of the family, that I think
it gives
is
you
where
that confidence.
It gives you that confidence because you trust them.
But it also sort of points out that family, those family members, particularly men, हमारे यहाँ होता है कि शादी हो गई, अच्छा बच्ची चली गई, that's it, finished, you've done with your responsibilities. But those things, it shouldn't be. I mean, the responsibilities continue, and he pushed you, and he kept on pushing you.
Oh, yes.
And
To date, he does.
To date.
he does. Yeah.
To date, he does push.
So I think that's really important.
Okay, so business is doing well. You've now gone into the Middle East. It's
that's very exciting.
And so, what's next for IHI?
I think growth. Maybe she can.
I can talk about it. So, I think what's really exciting is that just expansion, physical expansion, right? So we're looking to expand. I mean, we already are in the Middle East. We have a license, and now we also got some projects in Bangladesh.
Wow.
So that's
Bangladesh.
Yeah, Bangladesh, right?
You're able to serve it from.
We can do
Pakistan?
design, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and
Virtually.
We're doing
You don't have to
remote.
travel there.
We don't have to travel yet. I mean, we would love to, and that's something
But the
we're
client is
exploring.
really
Be a
like.
bit careful. The client wants you there.
Client really wants us
they're
there.
like, just
Really
come
wants us
and
there.
we're going to handle everything. We know people
Because we're
here.
doing design right now, but the client wants us to do execution, and obviously for execution we need to be there.
It'd be great if it happens.
We
but-
can't outsource.
Yeah.
I think another thing about like physical expansion, the challenge is that we don't want to outsource. We want to be present. We want to have our own team, and that's the reason why we hesitate a little bit before taking on projects, because we want to make sure that we can deliver the best. Design is something we can do sitting in our offices, but the execution of it will need our presence. So Bangladesh is now something, it's on the map for us. We have a lot of outside of Karachi, like up north projects. So we're doing projects in Islamabad, Peshawar, Nathagali, Kalam. So it's really
More
opened
like
up.
hospitality.
Yeah, more hospitality projects and some residential.
Residential,
Yes.
commercial, everything.
Yeah.
Your core still remains residential, though.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's like a core,
Yeah.
but because we are doing a lot of commercial projects now as
Yeah.
well. And like we did Selani's IT Park, which is I think a mega IT park, and it's all Google inspired, right? So I'd say it's one of my most top favorite projects, because I think the vision itself for Selani is so huge.
This is the one that's just recently opened.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'd say that we're
It
looking
looks like a
into-
Google office.
Yeah.
Does?
Yeah, that was the
Okay.
vision. That was the
Okay.
vision. I'm glad we executed it. And and I think there's been a lot of noise around that project. A lot of people are coming and, kind of seeing that, okay, we can do wonders with commercial as well. We had done commercial before as well, but not to the scale, right?
Now it's really picked up. Commercial
Yeah.
projects for us have really picked up, and
Yeah.
we're getting a lot of queries.
Yeah.
And I think because we've also proved, like, there's a lot of projects like EMAR we've done. We've done EMAR, we've done systems
EMAR's
integrate,
lobbies, EMAR's business
lobbies.
center.
Yeah. Salani, HMR.
Systems Limited.
So lots of different like builders and developers we're working with as well. Even the Natkagali project is actually a hotel, right?
Yeah.
So we're doing lots of hotels. I think the taste, whatever IHI does, it really attracts the
and
the
also
hotel
sort
market.
of you're beating the market in the sense that there are competitors, obviously.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There would be some big firms, small firms,
We
independent.
are, I'd say that.
I would say the big firm is, we would consider ourselves to be a big firm now.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Now we can say that yes, we are a big firm.
But your competitors, do you feel they're also growing? Or you're...
I'd say there are a few people which are growing, and there are a few, I feel like, again, just short-term thinking, right? There's a way you deal with clients, there's a way you kind of really carry out your structure, and then those companies are short-lived,
Yes,
right?
yes.
If you don't have the same, I feel like...
And outdated
philosophy.
designs, right? If you
Yes.
also see
Yes.
those companies are still doing the same design that they had, design language they had like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So I
And it
think
also varies regionally. So Lahore, Islamabad would have different design and tastes than Karachi. Is that...
Yeah. I would say there's like a mix.
it's a mix. I wouldn't
There's a
say
mix.
it's very different, but yes,
There's
you
a
do
mix.
see some like preferences.
Because we do all design languages. There's
multiple
not
design
one
languages.
particular design language that we excel in, because that was also the vision initially, that because design is it's like a world of possibilities, right? You can't restrict yourself to one design and be comfortable with it. So that's why we also took our time to kind of really dive into all the different languages, and then the team is also trained that way. So we have different architects and designers who have like different specialties. Like one could be really trained well in modern luxury, while the other is like really good at
So the client has the
contemporary.
option of picking...
Yeah. So
when they come to IHI, they're not limited to a particular design language. And they understand that we can actually do pretty much everything under the sun.
And does that set you apart? Because most architects, as far as I know, would have a very sort of particular...
Like a signature, right?
There's a
Everyone has
signature.
a
I go to a
signature.
house and I
Yeah,
say,
the
okay, oh, this
signature.
is done by
No,
this.
I wouldn't
So
say
IHI would not
No.
subscribe to any particular...
The only signature is top quality.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the only
what I would
signature.
And execution.
Yeah. So I think that's the only signature.
Okay.
But otherwise, in terms of design languages, if you even see like our different projects, you can't even tell. Like it's not the same architect, because it's actually indeed a different architect working on it. Because that's how the team is built.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And I think we've really now, mashallah, developed a very strong team, and we have a
Very loyal team.
very loyal team, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like it's, and if you ask any employee at IHI, I think they will say that IHI is their second home. So that's what it is for us also.
How
It's like
many...
home.
What's the team size now?
30
Including the
studio,
factory?
and then
So with the factory is about 70 people, 40 in the factory, and then about 30 in the studio.
Okay.
So
So you spoke, Gurera, about management processes, and I'm just sort of taking a cue from that, because you've recently come in from the consulting world. You had an extremely good career yourself, very successful with McKinsey. What was this pivot about? And first of all, why did you do it?
Yeah.
And what's inspiring you now?
So I was at McKinsey for 8 years. It was pretty much my first job. So back in I graduated 2015 from Warwick. In 2016, I found out McKinsey is now in Pakistan, which was like the best news for me. And I somehow was fortunate enough to get into McKinsey. And 2024, this year is when I left. So after like a long 8-year journey is when I left McKinsey, and over the last 8 years, I was a fellow, then an associate, and then finally a manager. So I left as a manager, and the next step for me was partner. So the decision was, what am I, for me, the next couple of years, actually the next 4 to 5 years would have been in making partner. So I think the decision was, what is exciting me going forward? Am I excited to take the partner track, which is very, very exciting? Or am I excited to build and grow something? So building, I didn't have to do. She had already built something so wonderful. But I did know there's an opportunity to grow. And that was something that was exciting me. Like, something of my own, something where I can actually make decisions, I can contribute towards the growth. So somehow that was something that, I started thinking about. I think a lot of it was also driven by personal interest to see what it's like. Because as a consultant, you're in the advisory seat. I wanted to now be in the operational side of it and actually be the person following the advice that I would have given to myself, right? Following that advice and actually putting those actions in place. So I wanted to see what that is like. And also this was driven by personal reasons. I wanted sustainability in my life. I think everyone knows consulting can be a bit demanding on personal life.
Tell me about it now. You've done exactly the opposite of what I've done. So
yeah, it can be quite demanding on the personal life, and for me, I think it was more about what can I sustainably do where I don't have to compromise on family and personal life, but at the same time, I'm still able to fuel my ambition, still able to grow, still able to do something that I can be proud of. So I thought this is a wonderful opportunity. I think for many, many years, Irtiqa was
I think also I was bribing her. I was like just constantly join IHI.
Yeah.
I think I tried every single method to kind of get her on board, and then I think McKinsey probably hates me for it.
So that's so interesting that you've done this. Fine, it's clear now why you pivoted, but what you bring to IHI? What does she bring to IHI which will help it grow?
Oh, I feel like
faster,
she brings everything, honestly, because very honestly, for me, it's all about design, right? I had to make business decisions, and I made good decisions. But I feel like when it grew, I could not focus on why I started the firm, which is to just design and kind of really be on site and just really kind of, and that is the reason why I started. And as the firm grew, I felt like my focus was really divided and I couldn't really focus on what I love. So, and then I had to bring someone on board who I could trust, obviously. It had to be a family member. It had to be someone that I can work with as well. And obviously, ideal candidate, McKinsey consultant. I said, how we're growing, how the projects are coming, and we're looking into international projects as well. We have a factory. We can also look at exports, which we are looking at right now. So for something that big, we need someone like her on board. And why should I kind of just pay that salary when I have
sister,
a sister,
okay,
right here. And I think this was years of manipulation and convincing.
Okay. Finally she gave it.
And finally, when I decided, she wasn't the one even pushing me. It was just something that somehow inside I was like, you know what? Why am I not doing this? Why am I actually not part of this, this institution?
Yeah.
Why am I not, using my skill set that I have developed?
And you've brought so much learning and exposure, so much.
Yes. She's brought in structure, more organized way of sort of working, the process that was missing. And I feel like just generally the operations are just so smooth right now. Everything, the client experience from start to end is just more defined, right? And I think
I'm forced to bring structure. I can't, I don't know.
You sort of, that's in your DNA.
I don't know anything else but to give structure. And I think it works really well because she's like the creative director. She does everything creative. I say I want to do nothing with design because that's not my forte. And I'm not going to pretend that I know design. So that's something she does, and everything besides design, that's operations, I'm happy to take that over. Operations, finance, growth, strategy. And I think that just somehow the teamwork.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a jigsaw puzzle, like missing pieces coming together because it's so different. For example, when we're doing project meetings every Monday, right? So she has her laptop and she's making notes and stuff, and I have my sketchbook. And when someone's talking, I'm making a diagram. And then she's like, Irtiqa, read. I can't. I get ADHD when I see all of that. I cannot. This is you.
There's no PowerPoint.
I was like, you know what? No, I cannot read all of these minutes. I will just kind of throw out whatever I'm thinking at that point, and that's how we both work, right? I bring the creative energy.
Yes.
I will not be working in my cabin. I cannot sit in one place. I need to kind of be around
and
just
walking around,
kind of
people,
sketching and seeing the screen and seeing my 3Ds. And for her, she needs to be kind of focused with her coffee, and then
I need my space. I need the cabin. I hold my meetings in the cabin, so I have more structure. While she's someone just free flowing.
Free flowing, yeah.
Abhi tak may not have happened, but is there a difference of opinion? And then who wins? And how does it get resolved?
So I think that's something our father already, could foresee that this could become a problem.
Right.
And he's like, you guys have such a good relationship. The last thing I want is this business coming in between. So there needs to be some rules, some ground rules that you guys set before you work together. And he said there has to be a boss. Between the two of you, there has to be. There's no such thing as equals in this world. Husband and wife, they're like, they're not.
The wife is the boss.
Exactly, wife is the boss. But he said there has to be dynamics that need to be decided beforehand. So then he said, so who's the boss, right? And I said, look, that it naturally is her. It naturally is Irtiqa, right? She is.
But I don't think I'm the boss.
Yeah, but it's also knowing that, I think she never acts like it. She never acts like my boss. And I wouldn't say there's a boss, but there has to be one person who has the final say. So we obviously have our own departments, and within our departments we have our says. But there can still be a clash of arguments, right? Even between.
There could be a bigger picture decision, right?
Yeah.
I mean, entering a market, doing something different, taking on.
So I get a lot of leverage that way, but I think still knowing that if there is one final say in the organization, who says that, that's something I was very clear from the beginning. It is her.
That's also because I'm just her elder sister. That's it.
But
That's it.
It's natural.
So you've been the boss since
That's it.
she was born.
Not because of IHI. I'm just the elder sister. That's how I take it.
I said that naturally it's her, right? It's, she's the founder, she's the creative director, and she's my older sister. So
that's it.
It's just so
Older
easy
sister,
for me to
that's
be
it.
she has a final say. So I think that was one thing that my father was very particular about, that there's no way I'm letting a business come into your relationship and, ruin things. So let's set ground rules. And I think this was the only rule. This was literally the only rule that he thought about, and otherwise it was very clear that we both have our own departments. We both have and we know what we bring to the organization. And otherwise, I'm just still learning.
Brilliant, excellent
from her.
Yeah.
So I think
smart father. So, I think I've asked what I wanted to get out of this conversation, but finally. Any advice, any sort of suggestions for people who are hearing this, looking at us, looking at you, and being inspired? Obviously they are, but any word of advice and suggestions for people?
Why don't you start?
I would say that, I started the conversation, that I was really, really demotivated as a married woman trying to start work, right? And to this extent that when I went for a job interview, the first question they asked me was, "Are you married?" I don't want to name the firm, but now they're kind of at our doorstep every day that I use their samples. And I said yes. I said yes, and they said. And I remember the guy literally being so blunt, asking, and had the smirk on his face, that how do you think you can work being a married woman in Pakistan? And he said, why did you even apply?
Wow.
And I said, okay, you know what, whatever.
Is this an older person, very much older?
Not really, not even that old, but I remember his face. I forget faces. So, so I'd say to all these, I feel to all these girls, young girls and women or whoever, that if they feel that, you can't do it all and you can't have it all and you have to choose between a personal life and a professional life, I feel you can. It's just about time management, and obviously you need the right support, but it's difficult. But if you set your eyes to it, you don't have to choose. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think from this perspective, I was a bit fortunate in the sense that, I was at McKinsey for 8 years. Then I got married after already establishing my career. Had super supportive in-laws and, husband. So that was never I didn't really have to choose or have to think, as a woman, I would feel like I have to take a back seat. But I think lots of people, when they come to their 30s, I think 20s is all about gaining experience or, tool, and 30s is about establishing yourself. Right. So I think it's important to think about setting plans for yourself, I think is important. At least I like to think 5 years or 10 years in advance. I like to make plans for myself, and I like to think, okay, what can I sustainably do? What do I want to achieve out of my 30s? And I think that type
Why didn't you tell them about the cover?
What cover?
Forbes one. 40 under 40. This is what we're working towards.
What?
Hopefully, inshallah, getting to 40 under 40 for Forbes, being the Asia's 100 most powerful women. So
Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
I think setting those targets and like believing that you
games, I
can,
feel like,
believing
you
that you
know?
can set that. You can be that, right? I think that was also something that like Dad would always say. He would be like, why can you not be, get a distinction in the world? Why can you not?
Yeah.
What's so different about those people that achieve like ultimate success from you and them? It's only hard work, and it's luck and hard work.
Yeah.
So I think setting those targets for yourself, knowing that you can always pivot, you can always change, and if you pivot and something goes wrong, it's okay, it's fine. Like you can always fall back.
Yeah.
So I think knowing that you can, like setting targets for yourself, being really, really not limiting yourself. I think that's important. And I guess, of course, you need to be, we were fortunate to have good families and good support system. But I think like also knowing that's important to you and letting others know how important it is to you, hopefully they'll also understand it. They'll also let you do what you want to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, words of wisdom from young, brilliant ladies, and much, much to learn from. I learned. And I think it's absolutely exciting, inspiring, and a great thing that you have done and continue to do. And best of luck. And yes, 40?
40 under 40.
40 under 40.
Yeah. I missed out on 30 under 30. That was, so I was like,
She's
okay,
like, we
I was
missed
like
out on this. We need to aim for that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm
you
looking
on board?
forward to that.
I think we can,
All right.
inshallah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.